My name is TinkerTanker, and a while ago I posted a journal asking people if they would like to see me do a tutorial. And for the longest time period, I've been trying to record this tutorial and been absolutely failing. So what I decided to end up doing is to simply record myself creating the tank with no audio, no commentary, and then I would commentate over the recorded video, which is what I'm doing here. Alright, and let's get straight into it, shall we? Alright, right now we are seeing me paste fill in MS Paint. Fill acts as my scale. With my scale is 1 pixel equals 1 meter. 1 pixel equals 1 inch. Sorry, I was thinking Star Wars ships for a minute. And what I just did there, I created my ground, basically the floor where I want to set the tank. And now I am on to creating the road wheels. Alright, now I got my first road wheel created, so now I'm just adding some detailing to the road wheel. And now I am just fixing it up, making it more symmetrical by copying one corner of the circle and then going around and making it so it's like all the corners, I guess. It's a little hard to explain, but you can kind of see what I'm doing there. I don't know if you can see the mouse after this recording, but I can't see my own mouse while recording this, so I apologize for that. And here we are. I'm still just adding some minor details. If you're wanting to create, detail your road wheels, what you should do is kind of go out and look at real life examples of tanks that can give you a pretty good idea of what type of road wheels you want. I don't know exactly what type of road wheel I'm basing this off of. I want to say like early Christie suspension road wheels. I want to say that, but it's not 100% certain. Alright, and now I am coloring in the tank, or not the road wheel. And what I'm currently doing now is coloring in the rubber of the road wheel. And if you don't know that much about tanks, a lot of tanks, their road wheels have rubber on the outside lining it. This aids in lessening noise and also increasing track life. And what I just did there is I just took the color using the color selector that MS Paint provides, taking it from Phil, his test piece, and then using that because I'm unimaginative and I didn't really know what kind of color I wanted. And now I am copying this one road wheel and I am going to start creating the suspension, or the basic layout, or the start of the tank, however you want to see it or say it. And I'm pretty confident with 4 road wheels at the moment. It looks alright. I'm kind of going for a light tank feel. Not entirely sure what type of tank I'm going for. I'm just kind of creating a tank, letting it go. Right now I'm creating the idler wheel. And if you don't know, the idler wheel kind of functions to slack or tension up the tracks, so it doesn't either fling off from being too loose or break from being too tight. So that's kind of the main function of the idler wheel. So again, and idler wheels, a lot of them, especially late World War II and Cold War tanks, their idler wheels look very much like their road wheels, and some of them even have, their idler wheel is just another road wheel. Okay, I kind of forgot I did this. Alright, right now I'm actually turning the idler wheel into a return roller. And what I did there, I'm making it a little bit more symmetrical. Making it so it's just symmetrical, just minor detail that I wanted to add. And now I'm adding more. I think that's actually going to... Yeah, I set that one aside because that one's going to be the actual idler wheel. And now I am adding some detail. But it appears that the road wheels, they don't match up. So I just got rid of that. I try again. Notice, yeah, that's not going to work. So I just get rid of those last two road wheels. I copy this little set. And then I just add them in. That way everything is symmetrical, everything's nice and neat. And then I add the idler wheel, just put that right there. And now, I believe I am creating the sprocket wheel. And the sprocket wheel is basically the wheel that actually turns the tracks and moves the tank. And when you start out creating your sprocket wheel, a lot of times, just go out, look at real life examples to get inspiration of how you want to design it. I'm just going for a very simple design of a sprocket wheel. And here you see me here right now, just cleaning it up, making it symmetrical, making it neat, nice and pretty. Yeah, I didn't really like how I didn't think it looked neat enough, so I'm kind of doing the same trick I did with the road wheel at the beginning. Just copying one section and pasting it over the other sections of the road wheel to give it a nice symmetrical and neat look. Alright. I believe I'm now going into color the... Oh, nope. I still adding some little detail. I am now adding like bolts. That's what those little black dots are supposed to represent. Bolts on the sprocket wheel just to give it some more detail. You don't have to add bolts, but it just adds details. In a lot of tanks, their sprocket wheels have bolts. Now I'm coloring in the sprocket wheel. Just going around, filling in all the white spaces, coloring it in. Now I'm adding the sprocket wheel teeth. Ooh, a little mess up of coloring there. The sprocket wheel teeth are what it kind of acts like a gear. It meshes with the tracks to keep it moving. I try and add that one teeth right there, but it'll overlap the sprocket wheel, so I just overlap that little tooth, or whatever you want to call it, with the sprocket wheel. And I did the same thing again. Then I copy the top half, and then I flip it vertically, and I put it over the bottom half. And then I just clean it up a little bit. Get ready to make the teeth look a little more prominent, a little bit more detailed. Yeah, now, not too difficult. Making the other teeth a little bit more pointed. And that's the sprocket wheel now completed. So I'm going to copy that and I'm going to put it into place. Yeah, that's good enough, so I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to zoom out. I'm now comparing the size of, I did a quick little glance over the fill to make sure everything was the size. Now I'm actually adding the track. I'm using just a dark gray that the MS Paint defaultly gives you in your little color tool section. I'm just going around connecting all the road wheels with the track. Alright. So that's the outline. Now what I'm doing here is that I'm creating the second line or the outer line of the tracks. And I'm doing those angles or whatever first, just so I don't have to go in and use the little pencil to color in all those outer line. And then just continue with the track, doing the outer layer of the track. Pretty simple stuff. Now what you see me here doing now with the eraser is if in your color 1, I right clicked, and whatever is in color 1 will be replaced with whatever color 2. So I have colored the color black in color 1. So when you right click, whatever's in color 2 will replace black. So it just made it so I didn't have to just a little bit more detailing, or just giving that black and replacing it with gray. It's a really nice little handy tool if you're recoloring a tank or whatever and you don't want to have to just go and use the bucket. Saves time. And now I'm just continuing on adding the outer layer of tracks, going around the idler and sprocket wheel. Yeah, there's not a whole lot to say. Like, the video kind of shows it all. Alright. So, and that's the outer layer of the tracks now completed. Now I'm coloring in the inner section just to give the track some color and depth, so it's not just 2 lines. And again, kind of using the same principle, I'm right clicking with the eraser to quickly color in that little section there. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Got my eraser, right clicking, and then coloring in all that white section. And then what you see me doing right there is that I'm connecting all the little gray spots so that I can just grab the little bucket and then quickly get rid of all of it, clean it up. And that should be the suspension virtually done. I'm now adding the bottom section of the hull. That's like the floor of the tank right there. Yep. I'm now getting the base color. I'm making it a little bit darker. And then I'm filling in the back, or that side wall, the lower hull section. That's what that is. Now I'm creating the mud flap, I believe they're called, or whatever. Their main purpose is to kind of give the flow or direct mud and dirt and snow so it doesn't just fling everywhere. I mean, I may be wrong there. I just use them to, that way you can see where the lower hull ends and where the upper hull section begins. That's what primarily I use that for. So I'm just now, actually, you don't have to add these. Again, I do because the reasons why, it separates the lower hull and upper hull, gives a clear definition of where one ends and the other begins. You'd be actually surprised of how detailed and what type of shape your little separator, I guess you can actually call it, what kind of shape you can. It can be a simple one rectangle, one straight line, or you can give it these curves. You'd be actually surprised if once you look at real life examples to get your idea of what you want it to look like. You'd be actually quite surprised at how many different shapes and sizes they are, from big to small to thin to long. It's actually quite surprising. And I'm going for a very simple, just a small, short, thin little thing. And it's virtually done. Coloring it in. Yeah. Oop. The little mishap clicking on the little scroll wheel when I didn't mean to. Just continuing coloring it in. Now I'm filling in the little spacing of the separator. Yeah. I'm sorry if I'm being really quiet or not explaining as much. I just feel as if the video is doing a pretty good job of showing you what I do. And there, what I was doing there. Sorry, I just compared the size to fill, making sure that the track and suspension wasn't too big or too small. And I noticed that it looked too short for me. I didn't like how short it looked, so I increased its length by adding an extra road wheel. So yeah, now I'm pretty happy with the way it looks. I'm just sitting here studying it, wondering how I want to continue with it. And I decided to give it a fairly low hull. It's not going to have a high profile. And again, I'm not entirely sure how I wanted it to look, so I'm just kind of going with it. Kind of following the shape of the divider there, with that little rear section. There, I'm just coloring in. And now I'm going in to create the turret. I'm starting with the turret ring. I let that be, and I think that looks a little too small. I accidentally clicked the save icon instead of the reverse button. And then I make it a little bit bigger turret ring. I'm studying it again. And now I'm starting to actually create the turret. And again, I'm not entirely sure how I want it to look. I'm just kind of going with what I feel in my gut and how it kind of feels to me. You know? You'd be actually surprised of how many of my tanks are actually I just went with it and what my gut told me. So, yeah, I'm just creating the tank. I'm giving it a kind of a, I don't know. I was kind of thinking of giving it at first a German World War II, a King Tiger-esque turret. And I kind of just went with that a little bit. I mean, not really, but that's kind of what was going through my head at the moment. And especially that little gun mantlet section, what I'm doing there. I'm kind of trying to copy what the gun mantlet of the E50 looks like. That's what I'm doing there. So like if you look at the E50 and then you compare it to that little gun mantlet, you'll see where I'm going at. Now I'm actually adding the gun barrel. Ooh, a little messed up with coloring again. I'm anticipating the length of the gun barrel, and I'm moving it back so that fill doesn't get in the way. Now I'm just contemplating how big I want the gun barrel to be, and adding a little just created gun. Again, I don't really know how big I want it. I'm just going with it. I think that little third segment is thick enough to be the gun, so I'm just elongating it, leaving that be. Now I'm going to color it in. Ooh, a little bit of coloring again. You're actually surprised of how often you will mess up. Now I'm adding a little bit of just like shading detail. I don't even know what those darker lines are supposed to represent. I just did there. I just added that. Now I'm adding like a periscope that maybe the gunner or the loader would use. It's a forward-facing one. Now I'm adding another one, a side-facing periscope. I was thinking about making like a little sunken into the turret look. But as I color it in and I continue to look at it, I think no, that doesn't look too good, so I just move it back up so it's sitting directly on top of the turret. And I just give it that little white line. Making it more just in the center of that one top line. But then I wanted to add a commander's cupola, so I just moved that off to the side, anticipating to use it later. And in my mind, I'm trying to copy what the late war Sherman's cupola would look like. So I'm trying to copy that. I pressed the wrong button again. move it up a little bit. Figured it looked too short. And now I'm grabbing the periscope and I'm now putting it onto the cupola. Add in a forward-facing periscope on the cupola and a rear-facing one. I didn't really give this cupola that many periscopes, just 4, 2 facing the sides and 2 facing the forward and rear. I colored in. I gave it like a little hatch. I copied that first periscope and I mounted onto the cupola. But I don't really like how that solid black line looks like, so I just add a darker brown color to it. And I add some more detailing. Again, I copied the little periscope and I put it right on the front section. That's like where the driver's periscope would be. Give him something to look out of. And right now I'm creating like handles or just like handlebars, or I don't know what you want to call them. I'm comparing them to the size of fill. I don't want to make it too big or too small. And then I started the turret. These things, they don't really have a purpose. I just add them to give the tank's turret or its hull a more detailed look. Now I'm adding a rear hatch to the turret, something that the crew could use to either easily resupply the tank with ammunition or to quickly bail out if they need to. So I'm zooming out, I'm studying the tank, comparing it to Phil, making it so sure it's not too big or too small. And here, I believe this is where I noticed that its turret ring was too small. Oh, nope, never mind. Right now I'm creating the exhaust pipe, or the exhaust for the engine. I don't remember exactly when I noticed that I made its turret ring too small, but I believe I do notice. In my mind, I don't remember exactly what I was basing this exhaust off of. I think I was basing it off of early Panzer IV exhaust, but I don't quite remember. Giving it a more round look, fixing up some detail and mishaps, and then just coloring it in. Do I add any more little details to it? Yeah. Just a little bit of a shading detail. Add a little inner circle for more detail. And then I just use that rear section to overlap the exhaust. I call that good. I put it back. I look at it. Yep, now I'm adding some engine deck details. These could be like radiator fans or hatches. Some tanks actually have a completely flat engine deck. A good example of this would be the VK100P from World of Tanks. That tier 8 German heavy tank has a virtually flat engine deck. Don't know what exactly I'm doing here. I think I'm looking out. Nope. I'm adding a rear facing periscope? Or what is that? Oh no! I'm adding the antenna. That's what I'm doing. Forgot what I did there. I was wondering what I was doing there for a second. Like in real time, you can see the time I recorded is 10:40, but right now it's like, what time is it now? It's 2:01, so I recorded this a little bit ago. And I believe here I'm just looking at the tank, thinking of anything I want to change or add. Now I'm selecting the entire tank, moving it back a little bit. I believe I just copied it there, or did I? No, I just moved it back. Zooming it in. I was thinking of oh no. I wasn't happy with how long the gun barrel was, so I'm making it a longer barrel. So I'm just elongating the barrel. I zoom out. I just look at it. And I think, yeah, that gun barrel is just a little tad bit too long. So I shorten it to the smidge. I select the entire tank again. I move it back a smidge. Then I believe I copy it. Is this where I copy it? I think I'm just studying it right now. Oh, no, now I copied, I think. I'm not entirely sure what the hell I'm doing right now. No, this is where I noticed the turret ring was too small, I believe. No, I didn't. I'm adding storage boxes to the side. When the hell do I notice a turret ring mishap? I'm now trying to visualize what those little storage boxes would look like, and I got a pretty good idea. I'm just going with what I have in my head. It's a fairly simple box. I have some little details there that looks like supposed to show like the lid, the lip of the lid, and the little hatch or a little latch thing. I think that's good, and I want to add a couple more, so I copy it, paste it. A little mishap with copy and paste there, so I have to recopy. I double click there, making sure I actually get it. Then I just paste it, and I put 2 more down. No, I actually didn't notice the turret ring was too small. Now I select the entire tank again, and then I copy it, I paste it, and I flip it vertically. This is supposed to represent the other side of the tank, and you can add some more detailing to distinguish the two sides, but this tank doesn't need it. It's pretty symmetrical. I get a pretty good look at what the tank looks like. I study it from a 100% size, so it's not zoomed in or zoomed out. And I believe I'm just sitting here studying it. I think I'm actually stretching because I've been sitting here for a few minutes. Probably drinking some water. It's a good idea to stay hydrated. I'm also at this time contemplating a name and for what country I want to give it to. Then I zoom back in. I think I'm studying it again, contemplating its name, seeing if there's any details that are not really right that I need to change. I zoom out a little bit more. And this is where I think of the name. I do a little mishap there. I don't click the text box, so I have to go back and re-click that. So I'm sitting here again, thinking, what do I want to call it? At first, I don't know what country I want to add it for, so I just put that question mark there. And at first, I was going for maybe a Russian name, like a T something, or maybe a prototype American tank name. But now, like, wait, no, I'm gonna make this an actual American tank. We can go call it M. Thinking, but M what? I go 46. In my head, I'm thinking 1946, so that 46 is supposed to represent the year. And I call it a light tank. I'm like, yeah, that's good. Satisfied with it. I zoom in on the name so I can. I put a little box over it, a 3-pixel thick red little box. I just do it so that it separates the name from the tank. Don't really know why. It's just something I like. So then I move the little box, the little name of the tank over fill. Then what am I doing now? Then I select the whole thing, whole kit and caboodle name, fill in the tank. And this is where I save it. Now, for most people, this is, you're done. You're saving your tank, you're giving it its name, you're going to do whatever you do with it after this. So, I name it, I save it. I apologize for that little break. I had a technical issue. Now, what I was going to say that after I name it and I save it, I go to my DeviantArt page, and then I did play this right. Yep. Then I submit. Then I hit submit, and I submit my newly created tank. All right. Go to choose file. Luckily, the little tank's right there, so I just select it, open it. loads. I hit the little no because it does not contain return content. And then I create a statistics sheet starting with the armament. I go back to my tank to figure out how big I made the gun. And I check the size. Did a little mishap there. Now I'm going to pause it here to explain why I'm selecting the gun barrel. As you can probably see right here in this little section, it says 7 by 5. It's 5 pixels tall. Alright? And I think I mentioned before that my scaling is that 1 pixel is 1 inch. So if that is true, that gun barrel should be about 5 pixels wide. Now that does not mean it is 5 inches wide. The caliber of the gun is actually 3 inches. I'm taking 2 inches off due to the gun barrel's wall, which I assume are about 1 inch thick. Alright, now that we get that out of the way, I can continue on. So then after I figure out how big I made the gun barrel, I go back and I say one has a 76.2 millimeter gun, which is 3 inches. And I just give it a machine gun, a small little 7.62 standard caliber. Then I go on to its whole armor, and I sit here thinking how thick I want to make its hull. It's a light tank, so it's not going to have a crazy amount of armor. And I gave it about 58.8 millimeters, which is actually 2 inches. Then I go on to its turret. I think a little bit more on how thick I want to make its turret. And I virtually make it the same thickness as the hull, except I make the front of the turret 3 inches thick, while the sides and rear are 2 inches. Then I go on to creating the crew. I give it a 4-man crew, a commander who also operates as the radio operator, I believe. Yep. Then a gunner, loader, and a driver. Alright. Satisfied, I continue on to the next little thing, and that is its engine. Oop, a little spelling mishap there. I go back, and I study the tank. I try and think of how big that engine deck is and how big of an engine I could fit into there. Alright. I select a little area so I can get a better understanding of how big of an area I'm working with, and I come to the conclusion that I could probably fit a 250 horsepower engine in there. I mean, I'm no engine mechanic, so I don't know. And then a little spelling mess up again for approximate, or approx. And then I do its speed, off-road. I sit here, I think how fast it probably could go. And I think about 22 miles an hour off-road is decent for a tank that probably wouldn't even weigh, maybe 10 tons, pushing it. And I say I give it 25 miles an hour on road, and I go on to the background. And then I just start typing, saying designed shortly after the Second World War, and so on and so forth. Like, it's sometimes hard to create a good background, and sometimes I can be stuck here in a little spelling mishap. I'm trying to spell Chaffee there, but I completely fail. Spelling autocorrect doesn't help, so I just go and I just search it and like, oh, okay. See, that's the first little thing. I was missing an E. So now that the spelling is out, as corrected, I continue. Continue fleshing out the little tank's background, saying how it was created after the Second World War. It was designed to replace the M24. Another little spelling mishap I don't notice at the moment. I'm still going on. Continue on with the definition. What I've noticed, which is a good way to figure out how you want to give your tank a background, is just that you gotta study the tank and figure out what year you created it for, who you created it for, and what role it fills. And I made it so it's an American light tank, so I just figured, I kind of got a early Cold War, late World War II vibe from it, so I gave it that era just right after World War II, especially since I said it was created in 1946. And usually after this, I just go with what comes to my mind. Just still type in the definition. And I believe it's around this time point I noticed that I had some spelling mishaps, but I'm just finishing up, so I'm going after finishing the last sentence. I have a little pause here, then I just go with the barrel. I noticed another little mishap, so I fix that. Go around and I fix mishap there, and I believe, yep. Now I'm just going down. I'm finishing up and virtually done. I go over, hit submit. And with that, the tank is submitted. The recording virtually comes to an end. And with the video, this tutorial comes to an end. I hope this video has helped you in creating your own tanks. I'm not entirely sure how helpful I was. If you have any questions on how to create your tank, say I didn't specify or answer a question you came to this video having, feel free to ask, and I'll be gladly able to answer. And with that, I say goodbye.